Okay, programming extension number 5 is to change the cavern size. And that's really quite a straightforward one. So let's have a look at that. Our game class has constants already for the number of north-south rows. So we've got 4 there, 6 there. And when we draw the cavern, and in fact anything we have to do with the cavern, there is a loop to these constants. So they're not, we don't have hard-coded 5 and 7 anywhere. We use the constants, which is the power of constants. We don't need to remember how many rows and columns there are. We just need to remember to use ns whenever we want to know how many rows there are, and we for how many columns there are. So if we want to change the cavern size, we just want to change the number of rows and number of columns. So all we do is change these values. So I've changed 4 and 6 to 6 and 8. So we get a slightly larger cavern. And now all of the code that deals with the cavern will loop to these positions. Let's see if we just take an example of setting the player position. So that'll be in setup game. Setup game. So if it's not a training game, then we set monster position based on the set position of item. Let's have a quick look for that. Set position of item. Here, so it gets a new random position. Let's have a look in there. Will my F12 work? Okay, sort of. So you can see here, it finds a random element within the grid, and it tests the, it gets a number between 1 and ns, and a number, in fact, it's 0, isn't it? Because round is a number between 0 and not 1, but just below 1, 0.99999. So that times ns plus 1 will give us a number between 0 and ns. So anyway, ns and w are used here. So when finding a position in the grid. So everything's handled nicely based on the constants that we've got. So we don't need to worry about the rest of the code. All we do is we change the value of these constants, and there's a little bit to do here if you want the cavern to look reasonable. In the existing code, we've got the row separators are a number of dashes, but that's based on the initial size of the cavern. So if we want to base the number of dashes on the number of columns here, then we just need to have a loop here and write out a dash the right number of times, which just happens to be the number from 1 and then the number of columns times 2 and then add another 1 gives you just the right number of dashes, and you need to put a space at the beginning and at the end like we have here. So yes, so there's a line separator there, and then there's a final line separator. So you just have to repeat this loop here. And that's all you need to do to change the cavern size. It's quite a straightforward one.